hi there, I'm Don.
And hi, I'm Cindy. Welcome to Pearls of Liberty for January 18th, 2014. For our first article today, we wanted to mention Obama's speech about overhauling the NSA. And of course, InfoWars says Obama lying about overhaul of NSA spying programs and information from an analyst.
Yeah, there's also, I should have mentioned this to you ahead of time, but I just saw an article from Mario Murillo saying that actually referencing Jay Sekulow article saying the Obama's NSA investigation needs to be investigated. You know, there's just, it's just so fraudulent that he's claiming to overhaul, and he wants to make you think that he's going to put a stop to the abuse of the NSA spy programs, but it's actually just putting a whitewash over it at best. So there's all kinds of people trumpeting that information, that truth, that it's all a scam, and don't fall for the whitewash. So I think most of us in the alternative media know that, but get the word out to your friends.
I found the title of this YouTube video produced by InfoWars pretty interesting. Obama fears arrest and is running scared from NSA Scandal. Dare we hope that that could be true?
Yeah, that's exciting if it's true. I mean, you know, his speech was so full of holes and obvious lies that I can believe the running scared as a title for that, as a way to describe that, because it's like everybody's seeing the emperor has no clothes at this point, at least anybody with half a brain, and we all know people that don't have half a brain, so, you know, try to help educate them.
Or people who are just so committed to the lies that they have believed, it's difficult to admit you're wrong. I was thinking about somebody that we both know that's actually in our family,
yeah,
who can't grasp some of the ideas that we are just, obviously self-evident truths to us. And I was actually thinking about in Little Big Man, where Custer has evidence that's unquestionable that Little Big Man is trying to kill him, and he says, "You're not worth the reversal of a Custer decision." I think some people just are so arrogant that they are unwilling to reverse their opinions no matter what evidence they're shown.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to, is that, and that's the way con artists work. That's why the Obama buy-in as the, just shy of a messiah, that's why that was such a huge event, because once people come on board with that and make that part of their psychology, it really takes a major, something on that same level to get them out of that con game, just to actually recognize that they're being conned. Yeah, this really goes to show that Mark Twain was right on the money when he said, "It's easier to fool people than it is to convince people that they've been fooled." In other words, once people buy the lie, they don't want to admit that they're wrong, and that's that pride that has to be overcome in every individual, and those of us in the truth movement overcame it at some point. So you have to help other people work through that ability. They have to go through that humbling process and admit that they've been conned.
I think a lot of us in the truth movement have been able to acknowledge that we were wrong because we've suffered some kind of an injury from the system that we believed in. And in just trying to process and reconcile, wait, what happened to me? How did I get sideswiped? How did I get T-boned? Because we weren't watching the people on the sides of us, because it was people that we had already trusted.
Yeah. Or it can be somebody that's not necessarily in the system, but that you recognize that sociopathic or psychopathic behavior in your life, and then it occurs to you, what would this look like on a mass scale, and then realize that that's what's going on in the world.
So be wary. Learn how to spot sociopaths and help other people who you care about learn how to spot sociopaths. And we want to move into a little discussion of energy and how gleaning energy has impacted on the earth, and also how the cabal has directed this in ways that cause great injury to people. And the first article here pertains to Appalachia. From IntelliHub, vast stretches of impoverished Appalachia look like they have been through a war.
And I'm really pleased to see that this story is getting a lot of traction in the alternative media. I noticed it was picked up by Zero Hedge, and he has quite a wide reach. So that's great news. And it says in the article, although it's not a featured point, but this impoverishment of Appalachia is due to the closing down of the coal mines because of environmental regulations. And once you realize that's really, it didn't have to be that way, because there are clean burning coal plants, and if these older coal plants could have been converted, or at least new ones nearby set up so that the old ones could be shut down without a loss of jobs, then this would not be happening. I think it really, once you put those two facts together, it becomes obvious that this is a planned destruction of the American economy, and Appalachia is a beta test.
And one thing that kind of occurred to us, if you're at all familiar with the story of the Hunger Games, it was people out of the coal mining district who were able to rise up and become an effective resistance. And of course, there were other people who supported them, but these people, Katniss and some of the other characters, were were very directly tied to the land. They understood the land. They understood animals. They knew how to hunt. They knew how to use herbs for healing. And there's just a tie to the land that some people have. And I just kind of jokingly wondered if they read the Hunger Games and then targeted Appalachia to destroy the people who live there, because they are many of them of Scotch-Irish descent, and somewhat more closely tied to the land than many of us have learned to become.
Yeah, and you can look at those things two ways. You can see that maybe there's wisdom in the Hunger Games, and if you've read them as Cindy has, then maybe it's obvious to you that it's not a lesser magic type of psyop, but maybe the movies are. But whether or not the story is meant to condition us to an Agenda 21 future, or is a wake-up call so that we don't get an Agenda 21 future, I think it's all a matter of perspective. You can see it either in a positive or a negative light. You can see us as the winners, or you can see us as the victims. So I would encourage people to see this as wisdom to help us fight the battle.
And just in talking about some of these issues, just the two of us, there seems to be some kind of a connection between Agenda 21 and energy. These methods of obtaining energy that destroy the earth, such as fracking and some other things, some toxins are being released that tend to, or that could tend to drive people away from some of the more natural, pristine, beautiful areas.
Yeah, these people that have been in control for a long time have long planned to use environmentalism as a hot button issue to actually do the opposite of what they claim to be doing. Namely, they're trying to destroy the earth so that they can drive people into the cities or into whatever safe refuges they have set up, mainly things like domed cities. That has actually been on the drawing board for a long time. And if you did enough environmental destruction, then that's what you would get. And there are actually attempts to regulate fracking, but the problem that's they're coming up against is that a lot of these companies that do fracking have trade secrets that they're not going to disclose what chemicals they use. So therefore, unless it's open technology, it's pretty hard to regulate it. So that sounds like a recipe for disaster to me. I would like to see it be mandatory that if you're going to pump chemicals into the earth, you need to publicly disclose what those chemicals are. And I think that there's abundant common law reasons for making it so, but we've got to get away from this corporate control of government. So that's a major agenda item I think that we need to move towards in order to find a solution.
And as Don mentioned to me, that there are safer methods of fracking that don't destroy the earth and release a lot of toxins. Fracking. There are issues with fracking. Fracking fluids to blame for rail car explosions.
And this is some of the chemicals that I was talking about. They're very explosive or flammable that would cause an explosion. And there have been these accidents that have been happening. But if you look at this from a problem, reaction, solution standpoint, it totally makes sense what these guys are doing or allowing to happen. Like I said, they want to bring about enough destruction so that they can herd people away from pristine areas. So if you look at it from that standpoint, I don't think you will quickly want to jump on the bandwagon and say that we have got to have all of these areas be off limits, because then what you've done is you've aided them in the herding process.
And this map is really astonishing. This is the simulated reserve and corridor system to protect biodiversity as mandated by the Convention on Biological Diversity, the Wildlands Project, UN and U.S. Man and Biosphere Program, and various UN-U.S. heritage programs, and NAFTA. If you look at these light blue areas are normal use zones of cooperation. That means everybody would have to live in a blue zone. And as you go out west, there are virtually no blue zones. This means, and if you can observe some of these where toxins are released, where radioactivity is released, and so on and so forth, if Fukushima were to radiate the western coast severely enough that people would have to move away, that would certainly serve this agenda of getting people off the west coast. And the West Virginia toxic spill is, probably, I don't know specifically, but I think it's likely that it could be to force people out of areas of West Virginia, at least long term, that they want to protect. So all of this red is where they do not want any people to live. This is core reserves and corridors, little to no human use. That means no agriculture, nobody living there, nothing. You can't go there anymore.
And you could really see how they would want to have a high-speed rail to connect the areas where you're allowed to live. So there wouldn't be any possibility of off-road vehicles going into areas that they weren't supposed to go into. And this really fits into the Agenda 21 whole grand plan, and the picture that you see in the Hunger Games movies where you've got this high-speed rail going through the untouched wilderness.
So they are, I believe they're using they may be using some of these toxins to herd people away from, let's face it, the beauty of nature.
Yeah, the whole Gulf area.
Yeah, well, the Gulf area has had a lot of toxins, and this yellow that's all southern Florida here, buffer zones highly regulated use. So that means all along the waterways, all along the Atlantic seaboard and the Gulf, people would, there'd be highly regulated use. So probably people would be discouraged from living there, and you might not be able to walk on beaches. I mean, we've known people who have been in North Carolina for a vacation and were not permitted to walk on the beach because they were told that the sea turtles were nesting. So this is really extreme. This isn't like, oh well, maybe we can live with this. This would revolutionize and severely limit freedom in the lives of all Americans.
Yeah, and we're, as human beings, are supposed to be stewards of the earth. We're not supposed to be destructive of the earth, but there is a balance, and we're supposed to be a part of the earth. We're not supposed to have zero impact. We're supposed to be making it better. That doesn't mean that it's that the earth is more important than human beings. And a lot of people get to that point that are in the environmentalist movement, and by the line, hook, line, and sinker, they think it's more important to say that humans shouldn't be able to walk on beaches and so that you can save the sea turtles than it is for people to have an enjoyable vacation. And that's just going too far. It's really worshiping the creation instead of the creator, because all things were given from God to us for our enjoyment, because it's a wonderful, beautiful world.
And the great irony, if indeed some of these toxins are released in an effort to herd people into the Agenda 21 regions where they want people to live, they are actually destroying nature in the name of trying to protect nature.
Yeah, absolutely. It's blatant hypocrisy, and it's the problem, reaction, solution scenario where you create the problem then in secret and offer the solution in public.
And because a lot of these toxins are released through, what at least is ostensibly a need for energy, like, Fukushima, that's all about a nuclear power plant, and the Gulf oil spill was, of course, about oil, and fracking is about obtaining oil. So, if, there are truly alternative, clean sources of energy, and as Don was saying, coal is actually a source of very clean energy at this point, and they're getting rid of coal plants, and they're stifling some of these other energy sources. And this is just an index from Planet InfoWars. And you can do your own research about this, but there are a lot of means to obtain free energy that we're aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to realize, everybody needs to realize that the only reason that we have the petroleum industry as the major energy source on the planet was that a group of very powerful men, bankers, or pseudo-bankers, because they're not even really bankers, they decided that that was the energy source that they wanted to use in the early days of the automobile, when actually the electric vehicle outperformed. So things could have gone in very different directions. It's not that what we're doing now was by any means a natural process. It was chosen so that monopolies could be set up so that humanity could be controlled. And once we step outside of that paradigm and break it down, we have a free planet.
That's great. And hopefully we will live that long. And, if short term we manage to obtain the restoration of a constitutional republic and achieve some of our other goals, and they still are able to manipulate us and hurt us through releases of toxins, they still have achieved their long-term goals. So I think we need to be very aware of their long-term goals, and we can't be short-sighted and just, if we get a constitutional republic, we won the battle and it's all over.
Yeah, no.
We have to keep looking to the future and trying to determine what their long-term plan is, and I was thinking about this, I think the only way to truly achieve victory, I don't really want to even kill them, but somehow I think that the cabal are going to have to be completely isolated.
Well, and they need to be completely exposed so that humanity can learn from this experience. When Smedley Butler exposed the fascist coup after World War I, the powers that were people that were in power, such as Franklin Roosevelt, etc., said that they couldn't be exposed because the people weren't ready to handle it, and everything would fall apart. Well, we're past that point. People need to learn from this; they really do, and this needs to become the way that the world is right now, and the problems that we have, and the root causes need to be fully exposed to all people, so that humanity learns from the experience and doesn't go there again.
And yesterday, this is just a clip from the Alex Jones InfoWars program yesterday morning, New World Order Running Scared. And he does talk in this clip about suggestions that people who are beginning to stand up against the New World Order be killed. So their plan is for us all is definitely death and destruction. And I think it's probably only by God's grace and protection that we will survive and succeed and triumph.
Yeah, and Jesus himself said, "Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves." And far too many Christians have the harmless as dove things down pat, but they don't have the being wise as a serpent at all. It's pretty much like they were thinking the Lord said, "Be as clueless as a dove," and that wasn't quite it. So, yeah, it's really about becoming aware of the world in which you really live.
And that sounds like you're winding into your...
Yeah,
so
that's why I say every week.
Thank you for joining us for this week's Pearls of Liberty, and have a great weekend.
And we encourage you to see the world the way that it really is. See yourself in it. Walk your walk. You are the one you've been waiting for.